Simchick conditional use request. We had a very brief public hearing on this.
I'll make a motion to approve CU-1-17, the Simcheck conditional use for major excavation on Bulltown Road,
I'll second that.
subject to the conditions as outlined in the briefings.
I second my second.
Okay, anything to add to this one, Alan?
No, just informationally, they have met all requirements. The second comment on the engineer's review of the old documents have been submitted and reviewed by the engineer.
So they're good to go.
Good to go.
Okay, questions from council? Roll call?
Mr. Kepler?
Yes.
Mrs. Leghorn?
Yes.
Mr. Sudaro?
Yes.
Mr. Lorenz?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnes?
Yes.
Mr. Pace?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Okay, everybody, fasten your seatbelts. The next is ordinance 930-15. Would you like me to read it, and then you can just second it? Consider motion to approve ordinance 930-15, an ordinance of the municipality of Murrysville, repealing and replacing section 220-31CC of the zoning ordinance, exploration or production of natural gas from a source reservoir or source rock, and adding new uses to section 220-16, the table of non-residential land principles, land use authorizations.
Second.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, here we are.
If I may,
You may.
I would like to read this brief statement that staff put together for the agenda briefing. And I'll preface that by saying that when we started this process 7 years, which is approximately 1/6 of my professional career dedicated to this particular subject, I said that this will be the most difficult land use issue that the municipality will probably ever face, and it certainly has proved that out. What we've included in the agendas, or the briefing, is the following. Successful legislative processes invariably require compromise between different interests and perspectives. Since the beginning of the process to examine the impact of Act 13 in the Robinson Township Supreme Court decision on Section 220-31CC of the zoning ordinance, there have been concerted efforts to listen and learn from all involved in order to improve the current ordinance. It can be fairly stated that no other municipality in this region has gone through this process in such a detailed and fair manner. Given the compromises reached and consensus formed throughout this process, the staff views the proposed ordinance as advertised as a balanced approach to a very complex land use issue. This is not to say in any way that the ordinance is viewed as perfect by some or all, nor is it to say that changes may not come in the future to the ordinance as a result of the legal decisions by courts, discoveries as a result of peer-reviewed scientific studies, or actual experiences. It has been stated many times during this process that this ordinance can be amended at any time after it is adopted to make the next necessary improvements. Staff appreciates the various viewpoints which have been eloquently and passionately expressed by the Marcellus Task Force, the Planning Commission, by council members, and especially the public during the education sessions and public hearings. The approval of this ordinance will protect the municipality from challenges to the pending status and improve the current ordinance, which is weaker and less defensible. Thank you.
You're welcome. Council, who would like to speak to this?
Questions?
Jamie?
All right, so I had a long speech prepared. I cut it down, and cut it down, and cut it down again, and I apologize. But I will try to keep this short. I grew up in Murrysville. I own a home here. I volunteer here. My husband has moved here because I told him that we are never, ever leaving. And we look forward to raising our son here when he joins us in a few months. I'm deeply invested in Murrysville, and I care immensely about what impacts this community, including concerns that have been raised here from how the oil and gas industry might affect our property and real estate values, to how oil and gas construction here may affect us, and how any combination of those operations may affect air and water quality. To address those concerns, as it stands right now in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's code, maintaining property values is not one of the purposes of zoning listed in municipalities' planning code. That is, whether the impact on property value is real or not does not matter under the current code. It's also not legal for us to zone based on temporary construction impacts in the ways that many have asked us to do. And as the laws stand right now, it's not legal for us to regulate drilling parameters in terms of air and of water quality. If you have problems with us not regulating that more harshly, I understand. But you need to express your concerns in the proper arena to the state DEP. We can listen to those concerns all night and day, and we have, but it still doesn't affect what we legally can do as your council. I took all of these concerns and what we can't do into account, and then I worked really hard, as did everybody else up here, to consider what we can do. As a council, we agreed to measure from the nearest protected structure to the edge of the well pad. That's something that no other community near us, or any that I've heard of, does. And that distance is larger than the state minimum, and it's larger than our original ordinance. And when you keep in mind facts about borehole distances, which are set well within well pads and are not at the edge, we're at nearly, if not more than, double the state minimum. That is the fact, and so the individuals insisting that we have decreased setbacks are simply not telling the truth. Not only did we end up increasing the setback from our original ordinance, and not only are we significantly, attention-gettingly more protective in our regulations than any of our neighbors, but we also added in additional protections to try to protect homes and families even further, even during the construction processes. In the end, I believe we've done all we can do to protect the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens while allowing for reasonable use of this industry as required by Pennsylvania law. And I sincerely believe with all of my heart, despite some of the most vocal protests about what people wish we could do, that this is still the best community for our families to live, work, and play in.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment?
I'd just like to add a little bit to that. I'd like to compliment previous councils, and especially Jim and his crew, for working on this for 7 years. And I don't think too many places would work on something like this for 7 years and not say they're compromising. There's been a lot of compromise on both sides, but more on trying to satisfy both sides of the people. As for what Jamie said about we have the largest setbacks in other communities, just for your information, and I think these figures are right, from the borehole, Penn Trafford is 600 feet. Peters Township is 750 feet. North Strabane is 500 feet. Ligonier is 650 feet. And Hempfield is 500 feet. These are all from the borehole.
Which we're not.
And as she said, we're from the pad, which makes ours approximately 200 feet further, plus the 850. So I think everybody should be basically satisfied with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spadaro.
David, any comments? Or do you wish to pass and come back?
Yeah, I prefer that.
Josh?
Fair.
We've been asked a number of times, why? Why are you voting, or why is the ordinance the way that it is? I'll speak for myself as to my thought process and how I've arrived at this. And it's something that's probably not been talked about fully, but it's something that because of my education, because of my experience, because of my vocation that I'm aware of. And it comes down to rights. And I know that some of you find the concepts of balancing or of compromise when it comes to this issue as inappropriate or distasteful. I actually view that as a necessity. And the reason is we've heard a lot in the wake of the Robinson decision regarding Act 13 that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has given some judicial teeth to the Environmental Rights Amendment, Article 1, Section 27, and that's certainly true. And in large part, that is why this council, nearly a year and a half ago, myself being one of the votes that voted in this regard, to place the ordinance into pending status and to take another look at it. What we also have, however, is Article 1, Section 1 of the Pennsylvania Constitution. Article 1, Section 1 is essentially the Pennsylvania Bill of Rights, or the start of it, as it's known. That has been in the Pennsylvania Constitution since its inception in 1776, and one of those enumerated rights is the right to own and to use property. That is a constitutional right. That is a right that is held by every property owner in this Commonwealth. That is a right that is supported by over 200 years of jurisprudence. So someone may ask, well, what do you do then? You have potentially competing rights. Those enumerated in Article 1, Section 1, those enumerated in Article 1, Section 27. How do you reconcile that? How do you come up with a compromise? How do you accommodate both of those? And I think, succinctly stated, that's what this council has tried to do. We have tried to look at all sides. We have heard a lot of impassioned speeches and looked at the evidence, listened to everyone who has come before this council. And when you're on that side of the desk, we fully expect people to advocate for the positions that they feel strongly about. When you're on this side of the desk, you have to listen to everyone. When you're on this side of the desk, you have to consider all rights. When you're on this side of the desk, as some of you have pointed out, we have a duty, we took an oath to uphold the Constitution. And in that Constitution, there are, in this instance, potentially competing rights. What I think we have done as a body is we have done our best to try and accommodate all of that. Time will tell whether or not we've been successful in that endeavor. And I want everybody to understand as well, this is not the final gavel on any of this. If we get into this and activity takes place and we see changes that need to be made and we are legally able to do that, we'll explore that. But right now, I think that essentially what we have, and I will somewhat speak for everyone here, I think we are basically within 50 feet of a setback distance of a unanimity of consensus. That doesn't mean that we all agree, because I think if you asked each one of us to draft the ordinance, you would get 7 different ordinances. You have 7 different people, 7 different ages, 7 different life experiences, 7 different vocations, 7 different educational backgrounds. We all come from different places. But that's also what makes this group a good group. That's also what makes the process collaborative, and that's what makes it rich. You have different people with different thoughts on things. I may come at things from a legal aspect of it. Dave may come from his background. Joan comes from her experience. They all come together, and we have what we have. Is it perfect? Probably not. I have yet to see the perfect law. Even our Constitution, which is revered, has been amended many, many times. But I think right now, it's an improvement, a significant improvement over what is currently on the books in 2011. And that's what's on the books now. And right now, what's before this council is, are you going to vote for an ordinance that is going to improve that law? Because that's what we will do. If we enact what we have as pending right now, that will improve the current law in this municipality. If we vote no, we are left with what this council voted for in 2011, which everyone, I must think, agrees is not as strong as what we have now. So again, is it perfect? Is it as far as some want to go? No. Does it go too far for others? Likely. But oftentimes that's the hallmark of a good compromise, and that's the spirit with which I've approached this.
Thank you.
That was thorough. Thank you. That was great.
Think about what he
So you
does
did
for a
it.
living.
That's I know, right?
Good at what he
No,
does.
and I know,
showed
I
it.
know, right?
You
No,
did.
you know, and I like Jamie and Tony and Josh said so far. This is a significant improvement. That's again in comparison to. It's a significant improvement for Murrysville. It's a major improvement if you are not from Murrysville, from even the greater Pittsburgh area. And because that's been brought up too. Can I move here? I don't want to move here because this is happening. We've raised the bar in the Pittsburgh area, if not, further. And I'm sure that's why some did not want to see this happen, but we have. It's been put out there that this is, it's a reduction. It's not going to help. This is, again, I'll say it one more time, a significant improvement. It's a large increase in protection for the residents of Murrysville. What we've done, and it's been asked, how do you come to this decision? And I mean, this could be, I'm sure we could all write a 200-page paper on why and how. I'm sorry? 400, I know, probably. Few things that I looked at. How did I come to this? I mean, in general, have we taken the steps to educate ourselves individually as a whole? Absolutely. Again, much more than I believe many municipalities ever have. So, how have I come about it? You have years of public input. When everybody comes up, I could speak for myself. If some of it is there's some repetition, we're still listening. I'm still listening. There's no shrugging off an opinion or a thought. There may be something new. So years of public input, a task force that's spent quite a bit of time making this decision, or making recommendations, I should say. Drill site visits, actually on the site. I myself have made 2 visits to the pad to see what is the activity like, what actually happens there, and I believe a few others on council have as well. Again, personal experience, just visiting. For me, it was visiting the sites. I wanted to understand what really happens. You could look at it on paper, but what's actually happening? I live by a few well pads myself right now. Many educational sessions that have been put together with people from varying backgrounds. We've had drilling experts. We've had public health experts. We've had legal counsel of varying degrees, varying specialties. And we've also used a pretty detailed, to the best of our abilities, detailed GIS mapping. That all put together is, thousands of hours of education and research, and this hasn't been made on a whim. This decision has not been made on a whim. This has been thought through, and we have educated ourselves thoroughly throughout this process. And through it too, I think we had to also sort through the exaggerated or the embellished information. That comes from anybody. That's whether you see it online, whether you hear it from somebody. It's everywhere. Everybody's passionate about their point. Sometimes it is. I think everybody at some point is guilty of that. Everybody. That's myself. It's any of us up here. If you're passionate about it, you're going to fight hard for it. So that's something that we've had to try to understand. What is, we find a study. Is it accurate? Is it slanted one way or the other? So again, all of that's a tremendous amount of time, tremendous amount of information that has led to helping us make this decision.
Jeff, any comments?
As one of the folks that have been working on this for almost 7.5 years, it's been a rough ride. I remember when Jim, you said this is going to be the biggest issue we faced. Boy, you were right. Wow.
Dave, Jim, and me.
So yeah, it's been rough. So my take, and I think I've made my point clear in the past. The big thing that I'm pushing for is to give all the residents a voice to make their own decision. What Lauren had said, and actually some of the other council members, is we've gotten information from all aspects of this topic, and whether it's biased one way or the other, everybody has their own opinion. There's clearly an opportunity to extract the gas safely. There's a percentage of times where it happens that way. There's clearly reports that accidents do occur. It's a dangerous activity. The probability of it occurring, anybody could guess. It could happen, absolutely. Do I want it to happen here? No. I want to be able to sleep in it. If it does, I want to know that I've done everything I can to protect the residents. And for me, it really should come down to the residents should be able to make their own decision of whether the risk is worth the benefit of that activity being close to their house. And that's why I keep pushing for more. This vote today is an extremely difficult one for me. because I'm not, is it a vote against this ordinance, against what I think it should be? Or is it a vote on this ordinance against what it would be if we don't pass this ordinance? And that is extremely difficult for me. I personally think this ordinance is short. I think to truly provide the protection we need, I think it needs to be larger. How much, we could go on and on debating that. But is it better than what we have, what's currently on the books? Absolutely. I don't think anybody could deny that. It is definitely provides, well, maybe the drilling company will say it's not better, but from the residents, it absolutely provides more protection. And where I'm at is, do you make a statement with your vote based on what you think it should be, or do you make a statement defending what you have? And by solidifying the vote and having unanimous position on council. And I have to admit, I'm still not there. I'll know when I say it. And during this meeting, I've just been flopping back and forth in my mind. It's extremely difficult for me because I wouldn't want to vote my belief, and then it weakens the position of this proposed ordinance where that could be challenged. It's really, really tough. And so that's sort of where I'm at. We'll see when the vote comes.
You're not alone in that position. I've always said that I would not vote for something I did not believe was right, because I like to sleep at night. In this case, after spending 7.5 years with Dave and Jeff and Jim and the first committee, and then the second committee, and the planning commission hearings, and the hearings before council, and all of the public input, I think that we are at a point where what has been put together gives us far more strength than we currently have. And as Josh pointed out, it's not perfect, but we have reiterated time and time again that this subject is a moving target. Every time the state Supreme Court comes out with a new ruling, or DEP comes out with a new ruling, you can bet your bottom dollar that this municipality is going to look at that decision. How does it impact what we have? And our responsibility is to do the best job we can under the current state regulations to protect the residents of this town. We cannot block the activity. It's illegal for us to do that. So we must acknowledge it will occur. It will occur on the outside edges. And that's the right of the people who own those properties to gain monetary compensation for the rights that they own. But it is also our responsibility through this ordinance to say, but you don't have the right to damage an adjacent property. So let's figure out how we balance all of this. Hopefully we've come up with something that gets us close to where we'd like to be. And in the meantime, it gives you protection far more than the 2011 version. And I think that's the important fact tonight. Now, whether it's 6 months from now, hopefully longer than that, hopefully not till next year, but even 6 months from now, if we say, there's a problem with that ordinance, we have to go back and look at it, you can bet that we will do so. We're not going to leave anybody hanging out to dry. Some of you will hate us, some of you will like us. Hopefully some of you will respect that this has been a very, very difficult decision, a difficult position, a difficult project to work through. So, that being said,
John, let me just-
yes, David.
I appreciate the work and effort that's gone into developing this ordinance. It has been an utter pain. And I actually tried to, I have a meeting in Kansas City, and I was trying to actually make it occur early so I could be on a flight tonight. And I couldn't make it work. Having said that, actually, I wouldn't have missed tonight. The concern I have with this ordinance is that it doesn't go far enough. And I appreciate there are competing interests. Josh said it far better than I ever possibly could. The issue of how to try to fulfill both sides of our legal requirements. Where I fall, though, where I come down on is it was very clear in the discussions that from the legal perspective, the difference between 750 feet and 800 feet was incidental. If this got challenged by either side, we're going to lose at 750 or we're going to lose at 800. My perspective after 30 years as an environmental consultant is you have to look at the what-ifs, and you've got to be protective of those. And being protective of those, especially based on some of the science that's coming out, some of it, yes, is not the greatest, but unfortunately, this is a fairly new process of the scale that we're looking at. So the science hasn't caught up yet to what industry can do. In my field, you have to be more protective of human health. If you look at some of the epidemiological studies, you shake your head because of how protective they are. Unfortunately, the science associated with the setbacks for Marcellus drilling aren't there yet. And I've heard a number of times that the 500-foot setback was established by DEP. Sorry, folks, it wasn't. That was a political decision that was decided upon in Harrisburg. When you go back and you look at the record associated with that, everybody punted. There were absolutely no setback issue. They didn't put a setback specification in from the SAB, et cetera. Everybody punted, and it became a political decision, not a scientific one. So my issue is, what do we do with the 750 versus the 800? It's only 50 feet, but guess what? That's a lot of difference if there's an accident. That 50 feet is a significant setback, increase in the setback. Jamie was very good at pointing out, I think it was Jamie, or I think you pointed out what the local municipalities have as far as what Tony pointed it out, what the setbacks were from the borehole. Again, the biggest issue everybody has is you've got an industry that you've got a 50,000-pound gorilla, and you've got a lot of small municipalities. It's very difficult from a legal perspective for a small community to try to fight that war. So everybody punts and puts it back on the state. The state only made it at 500 feet. Again, that was a political decision. So my thought is we could do better. Having said that, I'm going to tell everybody how I'm going to vote here, because I have the luxury of going last. Absolutely everybody has said this is better than what we have. I agree with it. I don't want to go with our 2011 ordinance. I would much rather have this. As much as I dislike this ordinance, it's better than what we have, and I appreciate the compromise that everybody has put into it, because there are divergent opinions on this council. So I'm last. So if there are 4 yeses, I'm going to vote no as a protest. If there are 3 yeses, I'm voting yes because it's a better ordinance. And I realize that that's kind of a sleazy way to slide out, and I'll admit it.
Those are your words, Mr. Perry, not
It's
mine.
my words. But it's a sleazy way, but it's a protest vote. So that's how I'm voting tonight.
I'll make one more comment, because this has gnawed at
is.
me for 45-plus days, and that is that we spent a heck of a lot of time reaching 800 feet as our setback, and to suddenly make a left-hand turn away from that, first down to 600 and then bumping up and finally reaching 750, that really rankled me, and it frustrated the heck out of me. It still does, but it's better than 500. It's not as much as we would like, but it's better than 500. And it just, to me, it was kind of like dirty pool, and I have to say that simply because I only have 7 more months, so I can say it. Okay. That being said, we have a motion on the floor. Are you ready to vote?
Yes, please.
Okay, Carol.
Mr. Kepler,
What? You want to
I'm not trading places with you either.
Yes.
Mrs. Lee Corns,
Yes.
Mr. Spadaro,
Yes.
Mr. Lorenz,
Yes.
Mrs. Kearns,
Yes in protest.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
I'll be the token no, since I get to go last and this is pass.
Okay. Okay. We won't celebrate this one, but it's at least for the moment.
Can I say one
You may.
thing after?
You may.
As contentious and as difficult as this whole process has been, I want to thank everybody for the compromise. This thing has been a thorn in all of our sides. It isn't a great ordinance. I think everybody would concede that, but it works. So I just want to thank everybody for the time and effort that this thing has taken.
We'll all be able to put the lid on the Tums or whatever the antacid is that we've been inhaling for quite some time.
Frankly, I don't care if Gorse Line comes out. We're not getting through this
we
for
have one
7
more-
more months.
One more item, and then
I
we
know,
have,
sourdough.
yeah, we have a couple more
Sourdough's
things.
Talk after that.
That's how it is.
No, because we have a couple more things here. We have an ordinance
Good night.
requiring these, ordinance, well, it's, we have an ordinance. The rewording is, and I'll consider a motion to re-advertise, or to advertise, rather. Ordinance 955-16, an ordinance of the municipality of Murrysville, amending Chapter 201, Section 5471-101 of the Municipal Code Subdivision and Land Development to add submission requirements for land developments and streets and access drives. Who wants to second it?
Second.
Thank you, Lauren. Jim or Alan, whoever wants to handle this little baby.
In an effort to try to be as open as we could in making the information available to the public, we continually posted to the website the updates to the ordinances involved here. And in air, we had posted a previous copy of the subdivision ordinance, and to make sure that the process could be as clean as possible and not to risk a challenge, we decided that it would be better to re-advertise and repost the final version of the Sourdough ordinance.
And I apologize for that error.
You're forgiven.
Of course,
would-
the correct version did go to the county and get approved.
That's
right? This is
correct.
just
Everything.
solely on the website.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Much
all
rather
the
do it this way than
advertising
get
procedures
challenged
were
on it.
followed. It was just posting
This
to
is
the
a
internet
motion
site.
to advertise. Roll call.
Yes.
Mrs. Lee Corns,
Yes.
Mr. Spadaro,
Yes.
Mr. Lorenz.
Yes.
Mrs. Kearns.
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
All right, nothing under engineering, public work, nothing under public works and parks, nothing under old business. Under new business, we have 3 items. The first is a poll to see who is available for July 5th for a council meeting.
I will not be here.
Who knows?
Yeah,
You won't
I
be
know.
here.
I know for a fact.
Okay.
Yeah, I will be out of town.
I should be here.
Should be.
Tony?
I'll be here.
That's what I'm looking to see if I am.
I will not be.
So we have 2 out that we know of.
Okay? Do you want to hold the meeting on the 5th?
Do
Dave's
you
still
wish to
looking.
hold the meeting on the 5th?
What is this regarding? Just
July, it's council
A-
meeting.
Just a general
Just-
meeting, or is there
yeah,
something?
just
General.
a-
Just a regular council meeting.
regular. Okay, yeah, yeah. No, I'm out of town.
Do you want to still hold the meeting? That'd be 5 out of 7.
Dave's still
least
looking at
we
his
know.
calendar.
I'm good.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
good.
Yeah, let's go ahead and keep it on the calendar, and then if any of you find out in the next couple of weeks that it's going to be a complication,
Okay?
let us know. Okay, next is to discuss landscaping options for MCP.